This is what Liverpool need to do in the upcoming transfer window.
The transfer window opening up January 1st. A lot of rumours flying around. We're going to talk about a few of them and knuckle down into what Liverpool need by the end of it.
So yeah, I think obviously with Liverpool, we've got a few things floating around in the media, whatnot. Obviously a recent announcement is that Liverpool have got a deal in place with PSV Eindhoven for Cody Gakpo. Kind of went under the radar, that one a bit. I think it's fair to say United were hot favourites to get that one done. So maybe kind of snuck up on them and got that one in.
Virgil's just put in a word there. And,
just had a quick
come
chat.
on over.
Even Genie as well.
Yeah.
Just, doing one.
Good club.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess building off of that, what does it look like for Liverpool in the upcoming transfer window? I think we can all agree Liverpool's start to the season has been pretty poor. So some reinforcements in the January transfer window would be welcome, but certainly then maybe into the summer transfer window, definitely getting some signings in.
Yeah, I guess in general, obviously, like we saw Mane go at the end of last season, what a great player he was for us, in that kind of left wing spot. We brought in Luis Diaz, but, he's picked up an injury of late and then he's kind of had to undergo surgery and he's had a further setback. So Gakpo coming in is obviously going to be really good, just kind of strengthen that left wing side as well as, I guess, the attacking options for Liverpool as well.
I think maybe obviously we can kind of touch on that Gakpo and where it's come from a bit later, but I guess for me it is an interesting one because in my mind that central midfield is sort of the priority and where I see Liverpool really needing to strengthen or add those reinforcements. Whether that be in January or in the next transfer window, like that inter-season window. We know that we have James Milner out of contract, the Ox and Naby all running down their contracts pretty much or not getting that new offer. We also have Bobby in there as well that does sometimes come a little bit deeper maybe into that 10 role. So we've got some big experienced names or big experienced talents that are definitely going to be, or not definitely, that maybe aren't going to be available for selection. And with that, you'd say that those positions or that part of the team that Liverpool have needed to strengthen for quite a while. So yeah, it's definitely been the target or the focus. For me, I just hope that maybe the Gakpo signing hasn't come instead of that. It's coming as well as.
Yeah, you're hoping it's not like, here's our budget, we've just spent X amount on this player and now therefore we can't buy a midfielder. I felt like, in the summer, like the previous transfer window, for me, it felt like we definitely needed a midfielder. And then, just before the season started, there was a few more players kind of dropping off in pre-season, getting injuries. And then we signed Arthur, kind of last minute, almost as like a squad player. And he kind of hardly featured. And I think he kind of had injury issues himself. So that was a bit of a gamble. It appears at this stage not really paying off. So now it definitely seems like a bit of an outstanding issue where, either now or coming into January, we need to sign someone. Or definitely next summer. I guess the biggest elephant in the room is Jude Bellingham. He's kind of been rumoured with probably all the big English clubs. There was so much talk about the World Cup and everyone's kind of analysing his behaviour. Is he buddying up with Trent and Hendo here, or is he sitting next to Marcus Rashford and is he getting in with the United boys? Like, well, what's happening? And I guess any English player like Sancho, he was doing well at Dortmund and he's eventually come back to England.
Even Haaland, I know not an English player, but that sort of.
Yeah, I guess anyone who kind of starts doing well over there, you kind of tend to see them maybe come back once they're at like a level where it's like, yeah, okay, these guys are good enough now to play in the Premier League. So yeah, obviously I think for any England fan, he had an amazing World Cup. He would be like the dream signing, but he's going to be a very sought after guy and the price tag as well is going to be through the roof. So yeah, do you think that's a likely transfer?
Yeah, I think the important thing with that one that really stands out for me is the Jude Bellingham rumours or links. They've been around for so long. Like there was rumours that we tried in the window just gone, or we've had him earmarked for quite a while. And I think the key thing that we've done so well, with Klopp and, Michael Edwards and all these other people is that we always seem to have this plan and this track record of being like, okay, these are the players that fit. If we can't get the players that fit, we won't get the players. And, when we've kind of skewed away from that, the proof's in the pudding, you think of like Kabak, Ben Davies, Arta, those kind of ones jump out as almost like a bit of a scattergun or panic, like, we need to do something, let's get this player. And Liverpool's track record, hasn't been great in those instances. Maybe the only one is maybe Thiago that kind of came up, hey, this player's coming onto the market. Liverpool didn't necessarily have plans to sign him originally, but it was like, he's come on, it's a no-brainer. So outside of that, you'd have to say when Liverpool do have a plan and this structure in place, it tends to pay off for them and they do kind of go hard for those players they want. I think maybe Tchouaméni was like the odd one out there and that they've gone hard for him and it didn't sort of happen in the end, which is obviously disappointing.
Yeah.
But going to Real Madrid and all the rest of it, you can understand that. So yeah, I guess something like the Jude Bellingham links, at least, they make sense because Liverpool need to strengthen in that area.
He's almost like a Steven Gerrard kind of player. Like, I can already see he would be such a huge success if he did come to Liverpool. And like you said, because the rumour's kind of been around for so long, it would be a little bit kind of upsetting to see him go to another club because you're kind of like, oh, he'd be so great at Liverpool. But yeah, that's football, I guess.
Is there any sort of positions or areas that you'd really like to see Liverpool strengthen in the next window, January or thereafter?
Yeah, well, the biggest one is probably centre mid. The names you just mentioned there with Milner, Keita, even like Firmino, how deep he drops. It's all kind of seems to be the midfield. All the other players in a lot of other positions we've got a bit of strength in. Mm-hmm. So yeah, definitely someone to bring in. And even like Fabinho and like Henderson, they might have a few more years left, but they're maybe on the aging side. And it's just
well, even Fabinho this season's been pretty average.
Yeah, he's not been probably at his best, but there's so many players that have kind of been in the squad for so long and probably just needs a few more players to just kind of refresh it a little bit and maybe bring in some kind of younger and players who are a bit more hungry for success. There's already the likes of like Harvey Elliott and Carvalho who have been getting a lot of minutes, but you know, they're probably still a few years away from being like the finished product. And you know, I think at the start of every Premier League season, for the last few years, we've kind of been challenging for the title. And for me, that always has meant keeping an eye on City and what are they doing. And you just think about like the depth and the quality they have. And if they've not got Gundogan playing, they've got Rodri and they've got Bernardo Silva, they've got De Bruyne, like they've just got so much talent throughout. I just feel like when like Keita and like maybe Henderson gets injured or whoever, we're kind of then relying on these like young youth players. And I think the club at the top probably just needs a few more reinforcements. We do have some numbers there, but they're either a little bit aged.
They're kind of on both ends of the spectrum, aren't they? Like quite young, up and coming.
Yeah.
Or they are kind of coming towards the end, or maybe like an Ox or a Naby sort of situation. Yeah. You can't rely on them to ever stay fit.
Yeah. I think Milner has been, a pretty decent signing. He's been so versatile, and I think his experience and whatnot probably offers so much to the team on and off the pitch. But already like the amount of minutes he's played this season, I remember the first few games he was continuously starting, and I thought, any team that's got a guy like this starting, to me is like a bit of a red flag. Like nothing against James Milner, but I just think
he's not designed to be a starter against a Man United or against a City.
Like there's got to be, like a 28 to 30 year old available that we could be using here who's better than James Milner. Like I'm more than happy for him to come on, get the last 10 minutes of the game, see it out, use his experience, or how great is he at penalties, if the game, if it's like a cup game, go on to penalties or whatever it is, and be around the training ground on a daily basis. But yeah, it's almost like a bit of a concern. And yeah, even the young guys I've mentioned as well, like it's great to see them and give them minutes, but it's almost like a worry at the same time, where it's like, I feel like if we're relying on these young kids or these guys who are a bit past it, to me, that's like a bit of a red flag. And that was obviously due to injuries, but I feel like we probably should have bought a midfielder earlier in the piece. And for me, that's still something that we need to do.
Yeah. I think, kind of expanding on that, like the defence you'd say is relatively set up.
Yeah.
Maybe they could explore down the line. Trent's coming for a lot of stick, maybe comes into midfield. Although I've always said if they haven't done it by now, I don't think they're going to. That's not going to really change. I think with Van Dijk and Konate, we've got a great, strong pairing there. Van Dijk not having the best of seasons yet, we can all admit that. But long term, that's something that's going to work. We do have backup there with Matip, when he's fit and doing well. Definitely an underrated centre-back. And Joe Gomez, one of the most polarising sort of defenders. Like can be absolutely incredible and then can be horrific all within the same game. In the attack, with the inclusion of Gakpo, when fit, we've got Diaz, Jota, Salah, Darwin Núñez, Carvalho, Elliott can play up and wide as well. Am I kind of forgetting anyone else?
Firmino?
But obviously coming towards the end of his contract now. So building, we sort of have something to work with there. It definitely seems like that midfield sort of position is getting on a bit, and also would do with a bit of like jazzing up or a little bit of something dynamic in there, because you'd have to say it is kind of one-paced at the best of times.
Yeah, like Thiago's, in terms of like the regular starters, is by far like the most creative, but he's one of those players who's just getting on a little bit, like he's not the quickest. Probably sits like a little bit deeper than someone you'd expect from someone so creative. So like a lot of the guys in there are just like the typical Klopp midfield, like the workhorses between like Henderson and Milner and Fabinho and whatnot. So for me, I think when we've mentioned just Jude Bellingham right now, he's the guy who can do it all. He can go box to box, he can be a 6, he can be a 10. He's got a little bit of everything, and a player like that is someone I'd love to see in there, or at least someone maybe a little bit more forward thinking. I guess everyone likes to see attacking football. That's why we've got like a right back in the team in Trent, who's just so attacking that, you know, it's probably his defensive attributes that let him down and brings him under such criticism, because no one can question his attacking play. It feels like now we've kind of strengthened the attack. We've got some decent guys up there. The defense, as you mentioned, all those names, we've got a bit of depth too. And yeah, for me, it's the midfield. So it'd be interesting to see over the next month if we do bring someone in, and if not, it's going to be quite desperate to do so in the summer.
Following window, yeah. Cool. So that was kind of us summing up where we would like to see Liverpool improving. I think we can definitely agree that those midfield options are a must need. Touched on that Cody Gakpo signing, and maybe has come in for a little bit of like an injury cover this season, but long term, yeah, definitely someone to grow into that position and a great player for Liverpool to have. The more you can have good players in the team, you can do well overall.
They play so many games, like cup games, Champions League, like the league games. You just need so much depth and quality at the same time. All right, guys, thanks for watching that. If you enjoyed that discussion, give this video a like, chuck your comments in down below. Let us know if you think there's any players in particular that Liverpool need to sign, or maybe a position they need to fill or strengthen. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification so you know when we're uploading videos. Yeah, we'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, here's to celebrating Jude Bellingham signing.
Fingers crossed. Thanks, guys. It's been Red Mate.
Red Mate.